This is the West Michigan Sports Show, presented by the United States Air Force. Now, here's your host, Brandon Wirth.
You are listening to the West Michigan Sports Show, presented by the United States Air Force. Brandon Wirth joining you here inside the WBRN studios this Saturday, January 13th. And what a Saturday it's turning out to be so far. A lot of weather in the forecast, and obviously we've already seen some major stormage coming through here. Obviously, many of you probably thinking I'm snowed in here in the studio. Don't worry. I'm okay. I am not in an igloo here at the studio. I am at my house, safe and sound. Probably as you're listening to this, listening along with you, because of course, got to get better too. Hopefully you guys are safe as well. Be sure to be very cautious out on the roads over the next couple of hours into tomorrow, as the wind is obviously picking up. We have the snowfall that was projected in the foot range. We'll see if we actually get to there based on what we get over the next couple of hours. But especially the ice with the cold is going to be a major factor going into Saturday night. So please be sure that you're checking all the things you have outdoors, as well as trying to make sure that your car is cleaned off, because it's going to get pretty icy, pretty nasty here upcoming. So be sure everybody's safe. Hope you're enjoying the time off, potentially, maybe getting outside for some occasional sledding or snowboarding or skiing or whatever you enjoy in the outdoors as well. Many students also getting a 4-day weekend with Martin Luther King on Monday. So I guess, hey, there's a positive coming out of it. But we got a great show for you here today. We got a lot to cover. We have a great interview on deck coming up in the second half of the show. We'll start off, of course, breaking down the CSA scoreboard. We'll go over standings as well as basketball. We're starting to get into districts, so we're starting to take a look at the NPR ratings, what some of these districts look like. So we'll take a little sneak peek, especially highlighting the CSAA teams as well as some other regional teams based on where we are at with the districts at this point going into the second half of the season. What teams need to pick it up? What teams can afford to slow down a little bit? We'll talk about all that, as well as recap scores around the local sports scoreboard. And then in the second half of the show, we got a great interview with Big Rapids point guard, a sophomore, Cole Haist. Being able to talk to him about the start of the season for the Cardinals, obviously navigating this past week with all the cancellations for all the games, it seems like everywhere across Central and West Michigan, as well as what he's looking forward to in the second half of the season, both in his game and both with the games coming up on the schedule. Really good conversation. Can't wait for you guys to listen to that. Be sure to check out and stay tuned here for the second half of the show. Big thanks to you tuning in, whether you're live on 96.5, 107.7 or 1460 AM, or if you're online, WBRN.com, the WBRN mobile app. Appreciate all of you as well. If you miss out on any of these shows, don't worry. Life happens like a snowstorm. You can go on WBRN.com podcast tab, and you can tune in to be sure that you don't miss on any episodes. You can catch up on any that you have missed on WBRN.com or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your preferred podcast platform is. You can check all of those episodes out online, all of them, even all the way back to last year. Even if you're feeling like, hey, I wonder where we're at last year with scores and all of that sort of stuff for basketball, go back and you can listen to them. And it's pretty interesting, the amount of change that we've had so far in the CSA standings. It's going to be a really fun rest of the basketball season, as well as for wrestling. Indoor track also starting up for select athletes from select schools around the area. So we'll get to highlight some of that as the season starts to pick up. Obviously, some cancellations with some local indoor meets are likely here based on the news that we've heard. Obviously, we can't confirm, as recording this a little bit earlier than when the scheduled Saturday meet is. Colleges are actually considering canceling their meets overall here in the state of Michigan. So one of them being held at Grand Valley that I was supposed to go to, but of course with Fair State closing, it made that a predicament. So it looks like we're going to be looking for next week overall for racing. So looking forward to that as well. But without further ado, let's get into the local sports scoreboard here, presented by Big Rapids Digital, our great partner here for all of our digital statistics, especially for basketball season that tune into the Big Rapids Cardinal broadcast. We'll go back to January 4th. Some of these will overlap, just in case some of you might have missed it, right around the brink of when we recorded last time. So I figured might as well go over them just in case you might have missed them, or just in case we didn't have a chance to cover them. So back to January 4th, a pair of non-conference contests in boys and girls. Pentwater falls to White Cloud in boys action. The Indians get a win 71-33 over Pentwater. And Kent City girls take down the Wildcats of Montague 47-21, the lone pairing of scores from January 4th. January 5th, a battle that went down to the wire in overtime there just at Gerald R. Airport. Grand Rapids West Aviation Academy takes down Central Montcalm in boys action 60-57 in OT. as well as Muskegon Western Michigan Christian takes down Kent City in a defensive slugfest, 40-30, the final score there in boys action, as well. Reed City holds off the Chemics of Midland Dow, 63-60 there in Reed City. What a basketball game that was, based off what I heard from some people that went to the game. Fantastic if you're a fan of good basketball. Girls action, Tri-County is overwhelmed by Morley Stanwood, 77-27. I'll tell you what, the Mohawks and Coach Raven are rolling. They look unstoppable right now. Also in CSA action, non-conference action, I should say, for one team, White Cloud Manistee Catholic Central. Talk about a defensive slugfest. How about this? 22-19. No, we're not talking about football. We're talking about basketball. What a matchup that was there from Manistee. Really fun matchup all the way around as well. No scores from Bowling, from Kent City, and Montague in their duel that was slated to take place there on January 5th. January 8th, this past week on Monday, before schools actually started to cancel, Holton and White Cloud squared off. It was the Indians beating the Red Devils 76-38, as well as Lakeview falls to Saranac in non-conference action, 77-48 the score there. In girls hoops, Holton takes down White Cloud. Big win for the Red Devils, 35-16, as well as Kent City takes down the Ramblers of McBain, 32-24, and Ludington defeats Reed City, 41-28, in a potential district pairing here on January 8th. Also had some competitive cheer that was slated to take place at Big Rapids. We'll get to recap some of that here later on as we continue on the season. Obviously, January 9th is when all the chaos began. A lot of games postponed and or canceled. Some of those we were looking forward to. Wyoming Lee against Grant, Traverse City West against Big Rapids, all those games. Unfortunately, we'll get bumped to later on. Both of those rescheduled games are TBD as far as time and date. So we'll get more information as we hear when those potential rescheduled dates are for TC West. We do have the Friday game for Big Rapids fans, and we'll get there just a minute as we go along in schedule. January 10th, just this past Wednesday, Montague in boys hoops absolutely slams Kent City. The Eagles on the wrong end of a bad losing streak. 72-31, the Wildcats take down the Eagles, as well as in girls hoops. Newaygo defeats Ravenna in a regional battle, 32-17, the final score. Once again, a defensive battle. Wrestling was also slated to take place there at Central Montcalm and Kent City. By my word and what I've heard around the area was both of these meets were canceled. If that is not true, feel free to reach out at WBRN.com on the suggested contact form. Let me know, and I'll be sure to recap that as well as get you all that updates there for wrestling as we move on. Basketball in boys and girls hoops in Lakeview that actually happened just this past night as we're recording on recording on Friday for Saturday, but these games were on Thursday. There's the confusion out of the way. Dominant wins for Reed City across the board. Boys win 70-20 over the Wildcats. Girls win 58-39 over Lakeview. So Reed City gets a pair and sweeps there in Lakeview. Kent City also held a wrestling invitational by what we've heard as well. Big Rapids, Tri-County will get some of those meet scores as well as the season moves on. January 12th on Friday, there's supposed to be a lot of action going across the CSAA, especially in basketball, wrestling as well. We've heard quite a few cancelings, one of those, of course, being Big Rapids against Chippewa Hills. Our broadcast was supposed to be at Chip Hills tonight. That has been canceled. The game does have a makeup date already in mind. I believe it's been confirmed by both schools. It will be February 14th. It should be a Wednesday. In the last week of the regular season, that will be when Chip Hills and Big Rapids will square off there in Remus. So that game will be rescheduled. You can put that on your calendar for next month, almost exactly a month from today. So there you go. Also, wrestling was slated to take place at Lakeview. A really exciting meet. A girls wrestling invitational there at Lakeview, unfortunately canceled for 4 o'clock. That was supposed to be yesterday as you're hearing this live. But some other games as well will be coming up next week as we kind of get into some of the ones that we're looking for here over the next couple weeks. It's going to be very, very exciting to see. I do have one more score for you here that I almost skipped over back from January 6th. Reed City falls to Covenant Christian at home, 47-40, the final score there back only just a couple days ago. Some games that we're looking at coming up. There's a lot of good ones on deck, folks. Not going to lie. Standish Sterling Reed City will be taking place January 15th. That game, I believe, will be taking place on Monday. That game, a rescheduled game. That's going to be a really fun contest as well for the boys. As well on the girls' side, a really interesting matchup as well. Montague and Grant going to square off. We'll see how those two teams fare there as well on January 15th. January 16th, Big Rapids at home against Cadillac. What a game that could turn out to be. Battle of Titans, no longer district foes, but certainly the bad blood spills over from the last couple of years, and certainly will do so. Kent City and Covenant Christian will also square off in girls hoops. We'll get that matchup 7 o'clock there from Kent City on 7 p.m. there on that Tuesday. Wednesday coming up, a really fun matchup. Fremont and Grant in girls action as well. I believe also over on the boys side. Actually, no, it is not on the boys side here as I'm looking over my notes here. Grant will be actually taking on Baldwin at home in boys action. Girls will be Grant and Fremont. So both those squads splitting up. But as well, some other good wrestling tries coming up as well. Big Rapids will be hosting one. That one will be coming up on Wednesday. That one will be 5 o'clock. Central Montcalm and Chip Hills will be wrestling there in a CSAA try, as well as more wrestling in Howard City. Tri-County hosting Grant and Powerhouse Reed City. They're coming up on Wednesday. For Thursday as well, Reed City will be squaring off against Kent City, as well as competitive cheer at Shepherd, which will include some CSA teams, including Big Rapids. So put that on the calendar as well. Finishing out with Friday next week. Some really good basketball on deck, especially. We'll see White Cloud hosting Chippewa Hills. That one could be turning out to be an interesting game, as well as we'll see a couple other interesting matchups we'll be looking out for. Newaygo will be hosting Lakeview. One of those notable games as well, as we'll have some Saturday games that have been rescheduled over this crazy Snowfest week that will also be taking place. Kent City will be hosting a pair of games there with the girls and the boys against Blanchard Montebello and Ada Forest Hills Eastern, as well as competitive cheer in Grand Rapids at West Catholic and North Point Christian for various CSAA teams. Well, that's going to do it for the first half. When we come back, interview with Cole Haist, all access with the sophomore point guard after this here on WBRN. You are listening to the West Michigan Sports Show right here on News Radio WBRN. Before we kick it over to the interview with Cole Haist, I want to thank all of those that make this broadcast and podcast possible. Those include, obviously, the United States Air Force as the primary sponsor of the West Michigan Sports Show, as well as Johnson's Automotive, Quality Car and Truck Repair, the Schuberg Insurance Agency, Alter Care Big Rapids, Moda the Macasta Osceola Transit Authority, the Macasta Osceola Career Center, and Paris Auto Sales and Service of Big Rapids. Big thanks to you for being a local sports supporter and helping make this podcast possible. But we do thank you as the fans, whether you're tuning in live on the airwaves or as well online. As well, if you're a Fair State Bulldogs fan, we got the show for you. Behind the Bulldogs, every Saturday live over the airwaves at 3:03 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, just 30 minutes from the 3:33 start of this program. So tune in 30 minutes earlier. We got the full scoop and coverage, review, preview, recap, updates, interviews with Ferris State Bulldog players, staff, coaches, and more as we get into the thick of the winter season. We've had a lot of great interviews, and trust me, we got a couple really good ones coming up. So if you're a Bulldogs fan here in Big Rapids, the one-stop shop for all of your Ferris State sports coverage is Behind the Bulldogs. You can tune in live over the airwaves, as mentioned, at 3:03 p.m. on WBRN, whether it's 96.5, 1460, or 107.7, or WBRN.com and the WBRN mobile app. But you can also listen to post-recording on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more all year long. Myself and Joseph Nagy break it down for you all year long on News Radio WBRN here in 2024. But we'll kick it into the interview here. Sophomore point guard Cole Haist joined us here on the show. Big Rapids basketball has certainly started off with a great year so far, 7-2 overall on the year, although they lost their first opener in many years, including as well a rivalry loss on the following Friday to rival Reed City. Started off the year 2-2. Since then, they have kicked it into gear, won 5 straight, including 4 at home, and now face up against a big-time opponent against Cadillac coming up next week. But we had a chance to sit down with Cole, talk about the progression of the season, things they want to improve, and as well, a limited exclusive opportunity for the young point guard coming up in the national circuit. But without further ado, we'll swing it to the interview with Big Rapids Cardinal basketball's Cole Haist. Thank you so much, Cole, for taking the time. First question for you. Obviously, you guys off to a really nice start to the season. 7 wins, 2 losses. Just based on the overall output, what's been your overall thoughts on how your team, and especially for yourself, played so far this year?
I think we as a team started off a little slow, just trying to figure out what we were all going to do with our chemistry because we lost a lot of key pieces from last year. But once we figured that out, we picked it up, and we played pretty well down the stretch here.
Absolutely. You guys started off the season 2-2. Obviously, a dreadful loss with Reed City on the rivalry game. But since then, you guys have rallied together, won 5 straight, including against 3 really tough opponents. Just talk about that little bit of that turnaround you guys had, especially at the beginning of December, to now just really rolling through every opponent each and every week.
Yeah, so we knew we had a tough schedule going into it. We scheduled tough teams to try to boost our schedule and our MPR for later in the year. But once we got through a couple of rough games, we just figured out as a team how to move the ball, and we got some good looks and just really started rolling.
For sure, and especially, unfortunately, no basketball this week. Tuesday's game canceled. You guys are going to go up to TC West, and Friday, obviously, yesterday, as we'll be recording this live, it'll be that Chip Hills game that's unfortunately canceled. How are you taking the days off? I mean, obviously not having a game. What are you doing in the off time?
Yeah, it's frustrating not being able to play, and it's kind of driving us as a team crazy. But this week, without being able to play, we got a chance to get in and practice and fix some things and get better overall.
Absolutely. And especially for you personally, you've had a really good start to the year, obviously averaging about 11 points a game. You've been doing it as well on the boards, finding guys. You've been really good, and especially a couple of games this year. Obviously, your 23-point performance was certainly notable. Just talk about overall where you're at with your game, and especially where you want to be by the time we get in the postseason late February and early March.
I think with losing like 90% of our scoring from last year, it took us all, including me, a couple games to figure out who was scoring and how we were going to score. And just after those first couple games, we figured out each person's role, and I figured out my role, and we just stepped into it and started going.
For sure, and especially with, you mentioned a lot of the guys that were scoring the basketball last year, obviously the Dunn twins, Jack as well, guys that were really high-level scorers, all leaving, and especially with a brand new lineup. Obviously, you got a couple guys that obviously are familiar with you, especially you, Riley as well. You have Gabe, who was kind of in a bench role when he was healthy last year, and obviously Ty as well. Just talk about, especially for you guys, really kind of going into that starting role and starting to really feel that, not necessarily pressure is the word, but how did you guys address that, especially going into this offseason, knowing, hey, like, we're the guys now, like, this is our team, this is our ship, and we got to run the course?
I think it's the 5 of us that have stepped into the role. Most of us play multiple sports, so we've all played with each other throughout in other sports and other events. So we had a good chemistry, I think, going into it. But just knowing that we had lost that almost most of our scoring, and we needed to step up into a bigger role next year, which I think playing last year with all those seniors helped us prepare for it.
Absolutely. It was a great team last year. Obviously, 20 wins. You guys got a really big postseason win against Ludington, one of my favorites that I was able to watch of you guys last year. Just talk about that atmosphere, hosting a district, playing such a high-quality opponent in Ludington, and coming down to the wire and being able to win that one in front of your home fans.
I mean, the atmosphere of last year's district, both that Monday night game against Ludington and the Wednesday night against Hart, was the most full I've seen that gym in all my years at Big Rapids. It was just crazy atmosphere. Those are the fun ones to play in.
For sure. And obviously, you guys got a lot of really big games coming up even before the postseason starts. Next week, you guys will be hosting Cadillac, a really good team, obviously, year in, year out. You have Whitehall later on in the schedule, as well as finishing out your CSAA slate. Just based on what you guys have really accumulated so far with your team, with the chemistry, with your play, what are some of those things that you're looking to capitalize on? And what are some of those things that as a team you want to see improve with, not only for yourself, your teammates, but just the program overall, some things you want to do better by the end of the campaign?
I think those couple games you mentioned down the stretch are big games for momentum and just to get our team's confidence building. If we can pull out a couple wins against Cadillac or Whitehall or when we rescheduled TC West, those are good opponents. And if we can pull that out, it really will get us rolling into postseason play.
Absolutely. One last question for you, Cole. Obviously, a little bit of big news that maybe not some people know about. You were selected to play with a select Under Armour team that you're upcoming. Just talk about that process and being able to play at such a high level for Under Armour and just being able to compete at the highest level with a lot of people across the nation.
Yeah, that's the AAU circuit that I play for. I play for a high-level team out of Grand Rapids with a lot of high-level kids, and it's just that's always pushed me to get better and just to go down there and play those type of kids pushes me to work harder, knowing that there's so many kids out there playing. And it's just fun getting to travel around and play such good competition.
Absolutely. Well, we wish you the best, Cole, the best of luck the rest of the season. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Big thanks to Cole Haist for joining us here on the program. We'll finish out on a basketball note. I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we'll get into some of the district previews. And obviously, as we get into February, we'll hone in on this a little bit more as we'll get to a closer point to the playoffs. But we'll take an early look here going into really the true second half of the season, as many teams now over the halfway point in terms of games played. We'll start on the boys side, District 35. Big Rapids currently leads in MPR at 626, followed by Reed City, Ludington, Manistee, Mason County Central, and Hart. All of those teams notably at over a 500 MPR, which is incredible considering the fact that two of the teams are at 500 or worse. So that's a really interesting way to look overall at that district and how stacked it is each and every year, even though Cadillac has moved on into a bigger district. I believe District 3 now they are in this upcoming season. District 36, Standish Sterling leads the way at 606. They'll be playing Reed City coming up, followed by Clare, Ogama Heights, each around 500, as well as Gladwin at 474 MPR, and then Chippewa Hills rounding out District 36 in the respective standing order. In District 40, Alma and Shepherd are battling out for that top-seeded spot, as well as Bullock Creek and Swan Valley right behind, and Central Montcalm bringing it up the rear there for District 40. And District 41, which is stacked of CSAA teams. It's right now Sparta on top with a 525 MPR, followed by Fremont and Grant tussling it out right at about that 500 mark. Newaygo, Tri-County, and Kent City there at 4, 5, and 6 respectively in seeding at the halfway point. On the girls' side, District 35, Hart will lead right now at this point, followed by Ludington, Reed City, Big Rapids, Chip Hills in respective order. That race has seemingly tightened even more since the holiday breaks. We'll see what that has to offer here in the second half of the season. District 40, Alma leads with Belding right behind. Alma is dominating right now in girls hoops. Central Montcalm sitting right there in third. Tri-County as well in fourth. Ionia bringing up the rear there in District 40. And the last one we have time for here before we kick it back over to regular scheduled programming is District 42. Grant right now the front runner, followed by Fremont and Newaygo battling it out for the 2 seed, and Sparta and Comstock Park ringing out 4 and 5 respectively heading into the second half. That's all we have here for you today. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode here of the West Michigan Sports Show. But I'm Brandon Wirth signing off here on News Radio WBRN.